This week on Star Wars Sucks, we're lurking in the shadows of Malevolence and creeping around with the Acolyte. And we've got a guest. So stick around, lots more to come this week. Go. Howdy, succulents. Welcome to Star Wars Sucks, your non-toxic, low-sodium Star Wars show that doesn't make you feel bad for not knowing that Billy D. Williams' full name is William December Williams. So whether you're a hardcore fan or just a little Swarzy curious, this is your Star Wars safe space. And of course, we are the Circle of Nerds, and we do absolutely love Star Wars, even if we don't always like it. So we're going to go around and meet the crew this week. To my left, your right, star of stage and screen, it is the sensational Sherry.
Hello, everyone.
And I'm looking not. I'm sorry. I meant the applause. I meant the applause. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. That's my bad. I meant the applause. I know. No, don't leave. You're the only reason people listen to the show.
I'm out. I doubt that.
We need a girl on the show to minimize us. And from the Outer Rim territory of Bostoween, it's Daddy Louie.
Hello, children.
God, you're such a creeper. You're such a creeper.
Look, man. I can't help it sometimes.
I know you can't, but we love you anyway.
Comes out.
And hailing from parts unknown, it's T to the Oni.
Welcome back to the galaxy.
Hey. And joining us, flying in, pilot of the infamous Parma Flyer, special guest Krash.
Hi, folks. How you doing? Half the internet right now just went, oh, shit, that guy.
Not that guy. Jeez. Every Star Wars nerd in Northeast Ohio is just like, ugh.
Oh,
Sorry. There's only like 20 people that listen to us at the moment, so you're fine. You're fine. And of course, I am Tommy D.
And I'm one of them, so you're really 18.
What? Who's under 18?
no, he said.
And I'm one of them.
Oh, all right. So yeah, we're down to like 18, 19. So, and I am Tommy D. You're more than slightly obnoxious Star Wars know-it-all. So what are we doing here? Well, our mission is to watch all of the canon Star Wars films and TV shows in chronological order, breaking them down, connecting the dots, and learning more about Star Wars and maybe even a little about ourselves along the way. And I must warn you, there will be spoilers. So if you're not caught up to where we are right now as we're going on our journey, please do be aware there's going to be some spoilers. So this week, we're talking about the Clone Wars animated television series. What we're doing this week, we're talking about episodes 1 through 4. All came out in October 2008 and all take place around 22 BBY. Episode 1 has us tagging along with Yoda and a squad of clones as we get a little taste of politics. But there's still enough action to keep things interesting. Then we get a 3-episode arc that revolves around the Separatists' ridiculously large, clearly compensating for something ship, the Malevolence. A brutal ship with 2 gigantic ion projectors that are more than a match for anything the Republic can throw at them, or so they thought. So a quick word on BBY and ABY. For those of you that are new to the Star Wars universe, we like to let people know what that is because we do use that terminology a bit, and we like for you to know. So the events of Star Wars A New Hope, the very first Star Wars film, which released in 1977. What happened? Tony dropped out for a second. Okay. 1977. The events of that film are considered year 0 on the timeline. Anything that happens before Star Wars A New Hope is BBY. Anything that happens after is ABY. So you'll hear those popping up. So we are going to get to the Clone Wars here in a second, but we have to talk about the final episode of The Acolyte. It is easily the most hotly contested Star Wars product in the history of the franchise. I have not seen this much division and argument and hate and debate over anything in Star Wars maybe Jar Jar, but even that was not even close to what we're seeing with the Acolyte.
Last Jedi was the hate on the internet for Last Jedi was pretty bad too.
It was bad, but this is
that's
worse.
Still going on. They don't let it.
They don't let it go.
Yeah, they don't.
No.
Star Wars fans never let anything go. Like that's just our thing. It's like we never ever let anything go. I posted something in a Star Wars subreddit, and I said, I'm about to check out. Is the Star Trek fandom as toxic as the Star Wars fandom? Because I need a little peace and quiet. I need something. And that thread alone blew up and answered my question.
I bet.
Star Trek fans just aren't as loud as we are as Star Wars fans. But there were people, I just simply asked, is there a toxic fan base? And
I told you there was.
And oh my God. And boy, they came out.
Everything has a toxic fan
everything,
base, which is it's ridiculous.
Everything. Someone said that Zelda right now there's a lot of divisiveness going on in the Zelda fandom over the last couple of games.
Well, the newest game coming out is about Zelda.
Have you been to a Star Trek convention?
Not a purely Star Trek convention.
Yeah, not
no.
purely, no.
Okay. Those folks are wild in that, like, there's a hardcore group that like grew up or grew old on the original stuff, and the big divide seems to be between classic Star Trek versus new Star Trek. If you're seeing a pattern here, it's the same thing with Star Wars.
Yeah,
you got the original trilogy diehards, my childhood. Oh my God, Jake Lloyd ruined my childhood. Versus the, hey, I like new stories. Let's give this a shot. And it's like it's a total parallel.
Right.
And I think it just all depends on the person because I like the new stories.
Yeah.
And I grew up
Strange New Worlds
with the old Star Wars. So
exactly.
It has nothing. I mean, I don't know. It's the mindset.
It is.
Like, calm down. It's a show.
It is.
Yeah. It's not real. It's fantasy.
It's not that serious.
It's not.
It's not. I love it. I think it's fun to talk about. You guys do your costuming. It's great. I think that's awesome to me, but it's nothing to get angry about.
And so many people do. So when we're talking about the Acolyte,
over the silliest things,
the silliest things, the biggest thing that I've seen now, because it's like a lot of the haters for the Acolyte are starting to like backpedal and they're looking for like these really, really minute things to nitpick, because I feel like they're like actually closet fans. Like they actually really do like the show, or they're hating on it to pay the bills, like micro penis Star Wars theory. So like he has to, whether he likes it or not.
Seriously, fuck that guy.
Fuck that guy. So recently he was complaining about how episode 8 breaks canon. And it's like, you stupid motherfucker. It's like, who made you the Star Wars god that decides what does and doesn't break canon? The only people who decide that are Pablo Hidalgo and Leland Chi and their team. They're the ones who decide what is and is not canon. So for whatever you hate about the Acolyte, guess what, boys and girls? It's fucking canon. So big fat lightsabers, bleeding that crystal, and creepy Creeperton Darth Plagueis creeping in the background, nude bathing, all of it. It's all canon now. So
I think what I really liked was the whip lightsaber, and so I want that.
Dope, right?
I want the
super
whip
dope
lightsaber. Are
all
you
right.
shitting me?
It's so cool.
Freaking sweet. So now it's canon.
Dope.
Thank you.
And it's canon.
It's
so
cool.
thank you.
It's like Indiana Jones
and
the Lucasfilm story team.
And stuff that they did in animation with the light whips, and stuff like that. It's so easy to do. The fact that they've transitioned these things into practical real. I've got one of the Galaxy's Edge lights. I went down there. I built my own lightsaber. It's sitting on my mantle right now, like a samurai sword, place of honor. I love it. That thing is huge. This would be the murder weapon in Clue if I ran into the club somebody with it, compared to some of the ones like the costumers and the saber duelists use. But it's got so much detail, and just the idea, like, you don't think 100 years before the prequel trilogy, the technology might have been a little clunkier? Have you seen phones from the late 90s, people?
course. I mean,
Well,
if you go
we
back,
had them.
like I'm one of those EU fanboys. So of course, because and I think most of us here are about that era as well, the original trilogy era, where we had 16 years of nothing except for the books and comics. 16 years. And speaking of breaking canon, George Lucas pissed on 16 years of canon with the EU when he came out with the prequel trilogy and made all of the EU into Legends now. But anyway, so in Legends, there's at one point they had lightsabers plugged up into battery packs to make them work. They had cords and cables and they were hooked up to power packs. So yes, Krash, you're 100%. Technology changes. So of course I like the fact that they made the lightsabers fatter and chunkier for this series.
Coran Horn had a lightsaber that not only changed blade color, but length with the flip of a switch, which that part you're like, okay, you could almost retcon that to work, like going from like a mini blade to like to a full-size broadsword size blade. That makes sense. Changing color? Do you have two kyber crystals? How does that work? I don't know. I don't care. It just sounded cool on paper.
Right. And Horn, isn't he the oh man, I think I always called him like the Robin Hood Jedi, because didn't he always have like green robes? Was he the guy that wore like
green? They always described him as an all green. His X-wing was green. His robes were green.
The Robin Hood Jedi. All right, so episode 8, Acolyte. Krash, our guest, your thoughts, standout moments. So the way that we do it, we've got our light side pros, dark side, that's the cons, and our blast points. So anything that really stood out to you, made an impact, or some kind of a hot take. The floor is yours.
Okay. Thank you, sir. Loved it, first of all. But especially there's so many things going in where I was thinking like, okay, this could be a one-off story about the pre-prequel era, and we'll just, we're showing this girl going around killing Jedi. She's got a grudge. We're doing the whole samurai revenge thing. I was like, cool. And then you come at me in the last episode with all of this stuff, all of the backlash. I've heard so many people on Twitter and stuff griping about the Jedi are, this proves that Jedi are bad. And I'm like, no. It just shows that even good people make mistakes, which is sort of a theme in morality tales. Luke made a mistake by lashing out at his father, lashing out at Ben Solo almost. Mm-hmm. Luke is one of these stories that like teach young adult kid, right from wrong scenarios and what would you do, what should you do. First thing you shouldn't do is burn down your home because your sister wants to go to summer camp. But also, you also shouldn't go when the police show up. They shouldn't lie on the report and say you never had a sister, but she burned down the house. Oh wait, no, one of us ended up killing everybody. The way they twisted the official report of the story. First off, she never has a sister. So who's this person showing up killing us? Oh, wait, I forgot she has a sister, guys. All of that came to a head. And I love that they brought it back to the witch's home where it's like literally everything went wrong there in the previous episode. And everything sort of worked their way back where everybody sort of worked out their issues. It's just like the worst family reunion ever, where everybody's like, I got beef with you and I got beef with you. And the two that walked away at the end are the ones that survive. And I was like, this is amazing. I need sign me up for season 2 now. Forget Yoda. And then they hit you with that little Yoda cameo at the end. It's like, oh yeah, maybe we should explain to the High Council we effed up.
Sherry, you had something to say about Yoda too. Yeah.
Well, no, not about Yoda. They really did have something to say, because in the beginning, they told them not to take those girls and leave them alone.
Yeah, the council did. Yeah, the council
did do what they were supposed to do in this instant. So that's the thing that not pissed me off, but it's ridiculous because
kind of does.
not to do it. And then you're like, oh, I feel like they're unsafe or whatever. Like, dude, how do you fucking know? Like, you don't know
I
that.
really want a Padawan.
Right. Like, Soul, you were so thirsty to have a student, you stole some girl. That's what the fuck he did.
After breaking into their house. Like,
breaking in. Like, they didn't even, I mean,
Yeah.
at least he climbed in, I guess. But then you got freaking, oh boy, like, oh yeah, get in there.
And-
you can't knock on the door?
and again, did not use the force to climb. They just fucking.
Well, they didn't use the force to open up the door either.
Anyway, I know. Anyway.
But anywho,
All right. So Krash, thank you. Sherry.
sorry.
No. Go ahead. What are your light side, dark side, and blast points?
I don't, you know, I'm not good at that.
Okay.
But
what did you like? What didn't you like?
I know, right?
And you know what? You know what? And another thing, we'll get Krash. We'll come back. We'll circle back around. But predictions, maybe predictions for season 2,
If there is
one. Yeah,
there should be.
There should
but
be.
I don't know with all the but no, again, like I said, the series is fine. I thought it was a fun watch. I have no issues with that. But a little bit of it was, you know, the Jedi's arrogance. And I think they did need to show that.
Yes.
And it wasn't all of them, obviously. But them hiding behind the council. And so unfortunately, I don't want to say Saul and them deserve what they got, but they kind of did.
They kind of brought it on themselves.
They kind of did. They should have left it alone. I only say that because the council told them to leave them alone.
Yeah.
That's the only reason I say that. Other than that, you know, I see what they, you know, for a storyline, it was great. And then the girls, I mean, that was a twist to me. I did not think she was going to kill. It was Osha. Yeah, that Osha would be the one.
The first force
to
choke.
kill her master.
The first force choke in chronological order, anyway.
Yeah. So
she was like, "Stop talking."
I
was like, "Whoa!"
I didn't think she was going to go through with the whole thing.
Yeah,
I didn't
either.
think Saul was going to die. I didn't. I just thought maybe she would choke him out. You know.
Well, this is, of course, Game of Thrones Star Wars edition.
It is.
No one has plot armor at all.
Gosh. But
and that's the beauty of it.
Yeah. So
So
I don't know.
What are your thoughts? I'm curious. What are your thoughts about the scene where, because this has been getting a lot of controversy as well. The scene where the kyber crystal touches her skin and starts to absorb all her hatred. I see Louis over there freaking out.
I think it's awesome.
We're gonna have to go to Louis here in a second.
Okay. Yeah, I think it's to me, it's great. It just makes for a good story because again, I like the stories. This is all fantasy. This is not something that I'm like going to argue about because this is what was in their minds as a storyteller.
Yep.
You know, George Lucas, what is it? Favreau, all you know, this
Filoni.
is Dave Filoni. They're doing what they're making up a story.
Right.
This isn't real. This isn't real physics. This isn't real science. This is fun.
And I know you're not aware of this yet, but this is not the first time that we've been introduced to this concept of a crystal, quote unquote, being bled. So
I've heard.
Yeah. So like in some of the video games and in some of the novels and in comics, even Vader has done it, you know, so there's a whole process to turning a kyber crystal dark.
Well, aren't the crystals picked by them and things like that?
They used to be, yeah.
So
they used to be.
I mean, couldn't it be
Ilum.
part of the living force or whatever when she turned evil and it touched her?
Well, that's the thing that it's that hate. It corrupts the crystal.
Right.
That's
what I'm saying.
They're not naturally occurring red. Usually the red ones are synthetic or they're corrupted in order to become that blood red color.
So I think that was a good touch.
I thought that
at least to me,
I flipped out when I saw that because I've only seen that in video games and comic books, and now we're seeing it happen
and
on
canon.
screen. Yeah.
So that's
And it was great to see it in live action.
Mm-hmm.
And animation and video game animation sometimes can over exaggerate, but comic book artists can really throw some flair around it and make it this big dramatic thing. And you're like, or they could just be really pissed off and holding the blade. And I love the way the blade, like the poor LED designers are at Disney are like, okay, we got to make a lightsaber for Galaxy's Edge that can go from blue, but it's got to like slowly creep up. That was so cool watching the red just seep up the blade, where you're like, oh yeah, that's great. You just can't wait to see the fans try to, like all the great prop builders now going, damn, I got to make a two-tone LED now.
They'll do it. It'll. Oh yeah, it'll happen. Yeah. Daddy Louie, I got to get to you before you explode, because you're over there.
Go.
Just go, man. I'm not even asking you. Just go, because I can tell already you got a lot to say. Just go.
Okay. All right. So there's specific things in this episode of The Acolyte that I would be willing to fight anyone and say that it is some of the best choreographed fighting of anything in Star Wars, aside from, because I don't want to take anything away from Ewan and Hayden in their lightsaber duel, because it's just
there's only two that were better.
It's the lightsaber duel, right? But
there's only two that were better
than the Maul.
Ewan and Maul, or Kenobi and Maul, round one,
right?
First time, and then Kenobi and Vader in the Kenobi series. Their
that
final
was very good too.
That was very good.
Yeah.
But I mean, Soul literally did a freaking Liu Kang bicycle kick.
Yes,
he did.
Okay,
yeah, I loved it.
And Soul is just a badass. Yeah. Okay,
well, he was.
Darth Smiley, super cool villain. I mean, he's just like, as far as like from I don't know. He comes off as like the John Wick of the lightsaber community. He just has no.
We know how you feel.
He just goes.
You feel about John
Wick. Love John.
Oh boy.
There was like a crouching tiger, hidden dragon moment. There was some on-wire kung fu action.
Oh yeah. When he does like that force bubble around him to block the two lightsabers and the Superman punch that's literally about to come towards his face. But really what I want to talk about in this episode, and what I thought was the coolest part from a old school fanboy, one of the most disappointing things to me in the prequels was the actual transition of Anakin into Vader. So the scene with Mace and, unlimited power, it could have been so much cooler of a transition from Anakin to Vader. This was a very cool transition from light side into dark side. Seeing the lightsaber actually change when she ignited it, and it starts to turn red from the hilt all the way up. How fucking cool was that? Like, are you kidding me? People that are hating on this show, like, I get it. Is it going to win any awards? No. Did Star Wars win any awards at all for acting?
No. Just music.
There's plot holes all over Star Wars, but what fans need to understand is chronologically, we're jumping all over the place chronologically, right? Like George, when he wrote this, he gave us the middle piece, right? So it's really George's fault. He gave us the middle first.
Yeah.
And so now all of these new creators, now that George has, sold the rights to Disney or whatever, all of these new creators have to build around that middle piece.
Right.
Okay.
Fill in all those gaps.
Right. And not every movie, not every TV show, not every cartoon is written by the same people. And, there's not like a panel of George Lucas clones that every script has to go through,
Thank God, because he's a terrible writer.
But these actors are given a job, or not these actors, or these directors are given a job to, take a script and kind of make it their own. And
right.
I get what some people are saying about their frustration behind the very last scene, which was amazing when we saw the back of Yoda's head for 5 seconds.
Yeah.
One, I was super excited that they used a puppet as opposed to CGI. That was great. And people are upset because she walks in and she's like, what is it? Master, we have much to discuss or whatever. And people are like, Grand Master Yoda, the most powerful Jedi up until that point, didn't know what was going on in every inch of the galaxy. And it's like, you clearly don't understand Yoda as a character. Yoda doesn't tap into the Force to find out what is going on.
He's not
trusts
Professor
the
X.
Force. You know what I mean? Like,
I do think he knows a little more than they think.
He feels it.
knows.
He senses it.
Yeah, I think he does feel it. Feels something wrong. Not saying but
there's that line in Attack of the Clones where he's talking to Obi-Wan and Mace, and he's too sure of themselves, even the older, more experienced ones. And after watching this Acolyte episode, I'm just like, Yoda was holding that burn in for so long. That brother wanted to do. He's just like, I am so sick of these arrogant young Jedi who think, I want a Padawan. I'll just take this kid, whether they want to go or not. Hey kid, you like my lightsaber? You want one? I'm like, Yoda's probably got so much.
I mean, come
Yoda
on, guys.
Run out of F's with the Jedi Order.
Yeah.
Every Star Wars quote unquote fan, I'll classify everybody together. At one point in time has loved a lightsaber, right? Sure. I mean, that's one of the things that draws people to lightsabers. If you're watching the show and you are hating on the show and not enjoying it from that perspective, I question the choreography.
It's like, do you even Star Wars, bro?
You have Star Wars, right? This is the best lightsabers we've seen. Like, what?
Yeah.
What?
And Louis,
go watch Rebel Moon a couple dozen more times.
Oh, good. So, Louis, like, to your point too about Yoda and these people, how did Yoda not know? In the Phantom Menace, Yoda was standing 5 feet away from Palpatine. Had no idea.
No.
The dark side clouds everything. We saw Creeper Plagueis, and if you don't think that he wasn't jamming the transmissions, metaphorically speaking, with the dark side, then again, do you even Star Wars, bro? Because Yoda may have felt disturbances,
but he didn't know.
He didn't know when a Sith master wants to hide. They're gonna hide. You're not gonna find them, clearly, because we see that. And you can't blame that on Disney because George wrote that. George put Yoda in the same motherfucking room as Darth motherfucking Sidious and Mace Windu was standing there as well. Arguably two of the most powerful Jedi at the time standing within. They could have smacked the shit out of Palpatine right then and there. They had no clue. They had no clue. That's just little Sheevy Palpatine.
The only one that really knew was what's the one Dooku killed? What's her name?
Yaddle.
Ventress. Asajj. I don't think that
Yaddle.
Yaddle.
She knew.
Yaddle. Oh, Yaddle knew.
So that's funny to me.
But Yaddle,
I mean, granted.
Well, she knew something was up when he took off and didn't go to the funeral. I watched your episode. I watched you guys.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, I mean, when he turns from the wall, you could see her.
Oh, yeah.
Even though it was animated, you could see her face go,
Such a good episode.
Something ain't right with him right now.
Such a good episode.
She saw the flip because that was her Padawan.
Yeah.
So I get that. They had a closer bond. Yeah. So but still she knew. And couldn't tell anybody.
Couldn't tell anybody. Well, and then she's dead. Yeah. Tony,
what did you guys think?
Okay. No, go ahead, Krash.
Oh, what did you guys think of that moment where Vanestra, the green Jedi lady, comes to the planet, and I can never say his name, the stranger, whatever his real name is,
Darth
pops
Smiley.
that helmet on Magneto style, Darth Smiley, pops that helmet on Magneto style, just goes oh crap, my master. I don't know if it's his master or not. I'm not going to the gun on that, but clearly he knew he could sense the Jedi sensing him and went, lock it down.
Well, he was her Padawan because he's got the scar on his back.
Yeah. That's the prevailing theory that we came up with the theory, and a lot of other people have got. So. Yeah, that was
whooped his ass.
Padawan, and something happened, and she had to
use her saber.
She had to put some marks on his back.
I mean, that's the only thing that
she
you
made
could.
that very clear too, because I mean, she even like says to May, I need you to help me find an old friend of mine.
There's hints. I wonder if they had a Anakin Obi-Wan style breakup fight. You know what I mean?
Maybe.
Maybe.
Is that where the scar came from? Because I've seen people saying, "Oh, she's such a terrible master. She whipped him. She beat him." I'm like, or maybe they just had a fight at the end.
They had a fight.
It was a fight, and he probably was like, "Bitch, I don't want to do this no more, and I want to do what I want to do."
Or Plagueis just got a hold of him and was like, hey,
and
you know
he
what?
did.
Come hang out.
Well, that's the other question. Do we think that Plagueis is not a part? Like, is he hiding in the shadows, or is he the true master?
He's the true master.
I think like when you look at that, like what you just said,
master.
That's exactly, he's hiding in the shadows. That's what they do, and I like a lot of people were giving it shit like, oh, we got 5 seconds of this pivotal character just being a creeper in the shadows. But I think, like, if you look at that on a larger level, that's what Sith Lords do. They hide in the shadows. Even though Palpatine was hiding in plain sight, he was still in the shadows as Sidious. So I loved that scene personally. So Tony, sorry, go.
So my thoughts. I mean, first
this
off,
is gonna be a 2-hour episode.
Like we said, we called that Venestra was Kamir's Padawan, or other way around.
Did
before
Master. Yeah, we called it.
The other thing that I called was Venestra was going to set Saul up to take the fall, and she absolutely did. Now, granted, he died, but she absolutely just let him out to dry, and his name is now Mud, and that's fucking bullshit. He's not completely innocent, but that's fucking bullshit.
She had to do it. No, I get it, and I like how they showed her apologizing to him. She whispered. I mean, he's dead. He's not going to hear it, but
still,
it was funky. But it was necessary. It was necessary to basically she's doing that to save the Jedi Order, because the Senate is like a heartbeat away from shutting them down.
But again, she did it for selfish reasons, because they are going to, now they're going to investigate the Jedi,
right?
Which they should, for taking babies.
Speaking of which, other things that I really liked was, he didn't get a lot of screen time, but the senator who's pushing for the investigation. He is voicing all the thoughts that I've had for years, not just for this show, but for years.
Right.
And it makes sense to me that they're finally discussing this in a way, because this makes sense why there would be some mistrust of the Jedi in the lead up to Order 66. Like, that, to me, that was always the hardest part of Star Wars, was how is it that people just accepted, oh, all the Jedi are bad? Like, I understand, the clones are doing it because they've got the implant, implied suggestion, whatever. But why would everybody else just automatically agree with that?
Right.
But if there's this lingering question of their loyalties and things, that makes sense to me. The downsides for me for this, and there was a few. Tony.
Did we lose him?
Tony.
Throughout the plot points that.
Hold it. Tony,
good?
You're breaking up. Hold on. All right. I think you're back.
Let me know we're good.
All right. Okay. Start over. We lost you there for a second.
Okay. So there's a couple of plot points that they just kind of abandoned, and I have no idea why.
Which one?
The first one for me is Mother Coral, because she was not part of the group that had Kalnak in a trance. So she would not have died when what's her name did whatever she did. But yet we never see her again. We don't know where she went, what she did, if she has any connection to any of this. Did she just disappear off the face of the planet? Did we just say we don't care about this character anymore? We're not going to bother writing her off properly, but we're just going to forget about her.
That's a little.
I did not think about her.
That's a little candy. That's a little candy for season 2, maybe.
Okay.
And secondly, I'm sorry. What the fuck is wrong with Basil? Like, can somebody explain to me why the fuck he was all of a sudden just sabotage Saul's ship and then we're just never going to bring it up again? Like,
Yeah, I
the fuck
said
was
that
that?
when I was watching it. I was like, why is he being an asshole?
I think he was afraid that he was going to shoot May down. Maybe I don't think he wanted May dead.
But why would he have cared?
Maybe he's just one of those species that just maybe he doesn't like killing. They could have explained that though. I
agree with you, Tony. Like straight up, I was like, what the fuck?
That did come out of nowhere.
And then he just walked off into the woods.
Yep, off he went.
Those are just two examples.
You know,
And
one
there are
minute he's
plenty of
kicking her in the
others, but
shins.
Those are the two most egregious ones for me. Where, like, I understand where people are going to say, yeah, the writing sucks, because it does, because there are these things that they just gave no explanation to, no fucks. We're just okay. But that being said, I mean, when we talked about all the good parts, the bleeding of the crystal and you know, the building and the turn of OSHA, for those reasons alone, I really enjoyed the show. I really hope there is a second season. I did make a point to note that when I went to watch the final episode, it did not say series finale; it said season finale. So I'm hoping that means that they will, in fact, do a second season. But yeah, those are my thoughts.
So, and there is no official word yet from the Disney camp about a second season or not. However, oh God, what's her name? The creator, Headland. What's her? I can't remember her name. Everybody else is talking about her, but I ignore them. So, but Headland, she's the writer, producer, creator. She's the creator of this particular show. She was consulting with Pablo Hidalgo, who is, if you're not aware, he is one of the members. He's him and Leland Shee. They decide what's canon. You know, so if I want to write a Star Wars story, I go to them for consultation. Say, I want to write this story about these characters that are going to do these things. Can we do it? They go through the archives. Leland Shee is literally, his job title is Keeper of the Holocron. Like, that is he is keeper of all the lore.
Okay.
And Pablo Hidalgo, he is also like the lore master. So I mean, they know. They have forgotten more about Star Wars than we'll ever know. So if you want to write something, if you want to make a Star Wars show or movie or comic or whatever, you talk to them first and they'll let you know if you're on the right track or you can't do this. But anyway, so I think the fact that she was in discussion with him and she came out and said that, so this is like on record, she was interviewed on record as saying that, you know, they've discussed, because people want to see Jackie. It's like, Jackie gone too soon. Are we going to get more of Jackie? And, you know, she said, you know,
the Yord Horde, what was that they called it?
The Yord Horde. Yeah. Yord and Jackie, man, wasn't expecting that. But anyway, so hopefully
as a former costumer, I got to say, I love the fact that the brother was ironing his robes. Like, you and not everything. Oh, their robes are rumpled. No, man, you got to keep that stuff.
You got to keep it
perfect.
Nice.
Otherwise, you look like a slob.
Right. I mean,
keep it tight.
He was like a newly minted knight. I mean, he's what, 2 years a knight.
He was a little obnoxious.
He was full.
Right.
He was full. He was still like, yeah, he hasn't been jaded by the galaxy. Very proud, cock of the walk sort of Jedi.
He was arrogant.
He was arrogant.
And Jackie was a Padawan and didn't act like that.
Man.
So hello.
Jackie. What the fuck? She
I'm
was
sad about her.
badass. That one hurt. One hurt. Jackie, the loss of Jackie, that one hurt.
Yeah.
So now that we've wrapped up the Acolyte, I'm curious, what's everyone's take of the series overall, and assuming there'll be a second season, predictions. Krash, go.
I've not read any of the High Republic books just for a lack of time. I want to explore this era of Star Wars. If it's books, if it's a season 2 Acolyte, I'm in. I love this. You know, when the prequels came out, it was supposedly the height of the Jedi Order. I'm like, show me how we get from the Jedi we see in the Acolyte to hints of where things go wrong leading into the Phantom Menace. I love this era. I'm a big Rebellion fan, a costume Rebellion era stuff. I want to learn more about the High Republic and what the Jedi of old were like.
Okay. Yeah, there's a ton of books
and
out.
where they went wrong.
Yeah, ton of High Republic books. I haven't read any of them either, so I don't know. Daddy Louie,
Could not agree more.
thoughts of this overall thoughts of the season. Should people watch it despite all of the hate? Is the hate justified? Some of it yes, some of it no. Or and then predictions for season 2.
I'd give it like an 8 out of 10. I would say not necessarily a must watch yet. I think that if they do make a season 2 and we start linking some of what happened in this show to what we already know in the Skywalker saga, so like if we do explore the Plagueis thing more, obviously that's going to have, bigger implications for what we already know is going to happen in upcoming things. So I liked it. I don't think it deserves the hate that it gets. Is it perfect? No Star Wars is that I have seen perfect. In my opinion, the closest thing Star Wars perfect is probably Rogue One. But as far as like directing, how it looked, the acting, if you put everything together, I think overall it's just a better quality movie. But this is a fun show. I think I would say that the kids could watch, but literally dude snapped other dude's neck.
Yeah.
OSHA chokes out this went from the potential of being a nice family friendly show, but it gets dark the last couple episodes. So
Jackie gets prison shanked with a lightsaber.
Prison shanked. She sure does.
OSHA meat gazes on Darth Smiley. I mean, it's definitely PG-13 for sure. Yeah. Tony, how about you? Oh wait, I'm sorry. Tony, I'm sorry.
No, I just hope that they wrap up some of the questions that we have.
Okay.
I don't really have any actual predictions.
All right, Tony.
When it comes to the prediction, that they made a point of saying one being at one point and they're somehow split them.
Oh yeah.
Now the question is, now that we've introduced Plagueis to this whole concept, it would make sense then that he created them, or created her, and then somehow the witches did whatever they did to split them. So I'm curious to see how that story develops, and if we get an explanation of that, that would then carry over to an explanation of Anakin. I think we are ultimately headed towards a showdown between either Venestra versus Khmer or Yoda versus Khmer, which would be a lot of fun to see. But I am very curious to see OSHA's further development, so I'm looking forward to that. I imagine there will be, similar to this one, a couple episodes of backstory where we're just going to go back to Venestra's training of Khmer and whatever led to their fallouts. So yeah, I'm looking forward to it. Again, for right now, I wouldn't give it as rating as high as Louis did. I'd probably go with a 7 out of 10. I think it's got potential for it to get better. But for right now, that's about as high as I can go.
All right. Thank you, sir. Sherry.
For me, really, I just want to know about the Virgins.
I
want them to kind of explain a little bit of what the Virgins are. I know they explained it a little. It brings life, it transforms, things like that. So I'm just curious about that planet because it was a dead planet. And where the witches was that big crater. So was that where the Virgins? I don't know what the Virgins is,
right.
But whatever power source comes from the Virgins and creates life, apparently made OSHA and May. I know the one person, but and then like you said, Tony, the witches split them and did something they weren't supposed to. So I think that's what I want to see. I just want to see if that's going to do, they're going to talk more about it. Probably not, but
I hope so.
I think that would be pretty cool because I want to know how they were created. And then, yeah, I would give it an 8 out of 10.
Wow. All right.
I think it's a good, I mean, it's a fun show to watch. Yeah, that's all I think about it. But, and then maybe more Yoda because Yoda's just a cutie and I like when he fights. So,
all right, this is my question to the group. Now, if we're talking about watching Star Wars chronologically, and Louis, you had already kind of said this, but watching Star Wars chronologically, and if we're connecting the dots, we all know, for the most part, I think all of us here, we all know what happens at the end of the story of the greater Star Wars saga that we know up to this point. So knowing what we know, is the Acolyte, chronologically speaking, important or worth watching in the grand scheme of the overall Star Wars saga, from starting with the Young Jedi Adventures, which is the first in the chronological timeline, all the way through to the sequel trilogy. So is the Acolyte worth it? Sherry, you're shaking your head no.
Well, no, I'm
not that it's worth it. Let me not say worth it, but
yeah.
Is it important enough? Should you watch it?
Again, like I said before, like I think I said it last week, it's a good watch, but it's not important to the story. Not really. I don't think it is. I mean, it's fun to watch things that happened, hundreds of years before, because I think that's interesting.
Right.
But is it necessary? No.
Okay. Anyone else?
I would agree.
I think
Sherry.
the thing about Acolyte.
So,
the
Lou, you
thing
said
about Acolyte is.
Oh, sorry, Krash. Sorry, Lou. You said you're on board.
No, I agree. I agree with Sherry. I think that it's a fun watch. I think it's worth watching from that point of view. I mean, it's fun Star Wars. But as far as the overarching story, I don't think we're there yet, but we definitely have potential to get there.
Gotcha.
Oh, I got that. Okay.
All right. Krash?
Yeah, I'm going to tie into that. I think it's great as a singular story, the Acolyte, the High Republic, so was Rogue One and Solo as a solo movie. It may not be important for the overall the Skywalker saga. Like, you don't have to watch from Acolyte through episode 9, or you're not a true Star Wars fan. But if you want to branch off, if you want to go on a little side quest in the timeline in the story, these are fun sidetrack diversions from the who's the chosen one, is Luke, is it Anakin, all those questions people like to argue about. If I just want to see Jedi and supposed Sith beat the crap out of each other with lightsabers, this is your show.
Oh yeah.
If you want to watch pew pew blasters and stealing Death Star plans, Rogue One's your jam. I think that the great thing about Star Wars, like the MCU, is that we're starting to branch off of a main story, a one-off story where everybody has to be obsessed with this particular family's internal drama and go, if you like lightsabers, watch Acolyte. If you like space gangsters, watch Book of Boba Fett. And that's where everybody can kind of choose their own lane.
There you go. Love it. Love it. Very good point. Tony.
So I think for me, whether it's important is purely a question of what you're looking for. And I think largely a question of your age and maturity level. I mean, I tend to think that somebody going on this journey for the first time is going to be a relatively young person. And compared to the prequels, compared to everything else chronologically that we've gotten through so far, most of that stuff is pretty innocent compared to this. So I think there are some themes and whatnot in here that might be a bit too much for younger people and might turn them off of the whole thing. But that being said, if you're an adult and you like that, then I think it's great.
All right. That is fair. That is fair. Louis, I'm kind of leaning. I agree with what everybody said, but Louis, you had a little caveat. You said it's not necessarily important yet,
Right.
but I do think that if it is allowed to grow and breathe a little bit, the potential for it to tie into things that, you know, we see later on in Revenge of the Sith, I think that's when it becomes important. Is it a pivotal program right now? Not necessarily. Krash, like you said, you know, if you like, you know, lightsabers and kung fu, this is it. But I think if they do it right, if they wrap it up real nice, with the second or maybe even third season, I think they can get away with just doing 2 seasons. Now we've got to tie in a closer tie into the prequel trilogy and the Skywalker saga. This is going to connect those dots for us. So Acolyte, we're giving it a pretty, you know, better than average rating, I think, for the group. So that's interesting. So yeah, definitely worth a watch.
Yep.
Where you watch it in the chronology is up to you, though. However you want to do it. So we've got about 7 minutes now to talk about about Clone Wars.
I only need like 30, so 30 seconds.
Minutes, 30 seconds. All right. Well, then. All right. So episodes 1, 2, 3, and 4 of the Clone Wars animated series. We start out. We've got Yoda and his squad taking on Ventress and her battalion, and so we'll just talk about it because there's a lot going on. We haven't really gotten to the deep meat and potatoes of what the Clone Wars is going to become, but I think we're getting some nice little introductions here into the nuances of the Clone Wars. Daddy Louie.
Yoda continues to be a badass. The first episode was great because I'm a huge Yoda fan. Outside of that, I do agree that it, like, the politics of seeing how these other star systems are affecting the overall war, and the importance of that negotiation, you know, between the Republic and the Separatists. They're literally going planet to planet, negotiating with leaders to join their cause. And this was really a good example of that. I don't think that it was the best way to start the show. I know that a lot of people are like, well, the movie is what starts the show. Yeah, but maybe you haven't seen the movie, you know what I mean? Like, and we're jumping straight into Yoda. We're jumping straight into, I would have liked, you know, either like a 5-minute, introduction to what we're about to see in the Clone Wars. But it just wasn't it's a filler episode that could have fell into the middle of the season and still had the exact same effect on everything. You know what I mean? Like, it didn't necessarily belong where it was.
Like, maybe we could have gotten an episode where, like, things that take place like immediately after the events of Geonosis. Like, right. Like, let's get an episode like around that.
Right. Bridging that gap. Yeah, exactly. The next 3 episodes were fine, I guess. We're getting to see, the relationship between Anakin and Ahsoka kind of blossom a little bit. And it seemed like everybody kind of had their day in the spotlight. I could do without the Padme and the droid stuff. Like, I'm totally fine never seeing any of that. It's quite...
in the middle of the space battle, we just dropped a senator.
Right. Here you go. Here's Padme. And oh, by the way, Padme is
I took the wrong off-ramp. Sorry.
Right.
Palpatine sent her there on purpose.
He did that.
Oh,
right.
And she said, where did we get these coordinates? Well, Palpatine had some intelligence to let us. Yeah. So
correct. So it wasn't her.
No. As soon as Papa Palpy knew that Anakin was involved, no. We gotta send in Senator Tight Pants to make sure that we keep Anakin on a short leash.
It's just more to show how Anakin's fall, basically. It's just more of us to see that.
And how heartbroken was he that he lost clones? He has such a big heart. He is so full of love, which ultimately is what turns him to the dark side.
Yeah.
But he was hurt. He was hurt, and he felt bad that he lost clone troopers. Nobody else gives a shit about clone troopers.
Well, that's not true.
Well,
That's
some of the camera.
Yeah. Right.
Oh, Yoda cared about his clones.
That
So-
was the best part of that first episode.
Yes, I was going to say that.
So that's what
Yeah,
we're seeing
agreed.
too in these.
Nice to
That
see.
was the best.
Yeah. So we're seeing that in these episodes. We're seeing that the clones are
They're
individuals, and they're important to the Jedi. Some of them, anyway. And they're
And even the clones were trained to think they were disposable. I love that scene in the
Right.
cave where Yoda tells them to take off their helmets, and you can see he's seeing their personality. You know, they see themselves as carbon copies of each other.
right.
And
He's like, yeah,
and Yoda's
same.
like, no, man, you're the wisecracker. You're the munitions
Right.
guy. You love blowing stuff up. You know,
He's
you're the
right.
leader. You know, we all have aspects of ourselves that define who
That's
we are.
different.
And it's not like even at Star Wars, when people say, "Oh, a Star Wars fan, oh you nerds and you're," even the worst nerd, except Star Wars theory, has redeeming qualities
Yeah.
Fuck that.
that people
Seriously,
should
fuck that
accept
guy.
and embrace.
But you're right. So you
absolutely
can go.
But if you just give them a chance,
Go ahead.
I was gonna say I absolutely agree. To me, like it's that type of thing. It's that type of scene. Both Yoda and Anakin at this point. That we've made the comments in our reviews of Acolyte of the Jedi are just acting like cops, and that there are some serious issues. But it's things like that, like those types of moments that are but they're still the better of the two options that we currently have.
Sure.
So I'm not going to write them off as evil or a lost cause or anything else.
Right. Well, because they like you guys have all said, they care. Well, like in episode 2, when they're rescuing Plo Koon, Commander Wolf, and the other clone troopers, they risk their lives to rescue 3 clone troopers and a Jedi Master.
Well, the Jedi Master I get.
Sure.
But they were concerned about the
The
clones.
clones. Yeah, they went to rescue as many as they could.
And Plo Koon, I mean, he sacrificed himself.
He did.
By going, I mean, I know he can go outside, but he's,
he didn't have to do that.
He didn't have to do
He
that.
didn't have to do that.
I mean, I don't know. I think that's what I got out of these episodes.
So if we look a little bit deeper, yes, they like the first one, it did feel like filler. But if we do mine a little bit deeper and we look at those scenes like in the cave and the way that Yoda interacts with the clones, one thing I really loved about what Filoni's doing with this series is that it's the Clone Wars, and we get a lot of interaction with the clones. We grow to like and love and respect the clones, for being people.
Right.
We're seeing soldiers go through some shit. Later on in the series, they don't shy away from topics like PTSD and things like that. So, I mean, it's like,
yeah.
So far, how are we feeling about season 1 of the Clone Wars? Sherry, have you seen these episodes before?
I have.
Okay.
I have.
Everyone else has too, I assume. Yes. We've all been here. We're not in uncharted territory yet.
No.
Okay.
But
I had seen the first 2, but not all of the first 4.
Okay.
All the first 4. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah. I'm looking at it differently since we're watching things in chronological order.
Okay.
Like with Dooku.
Yeah.
How he just now is just a heartless piece of shit.
Yeah.
I mean,
targeting hospitals and wounded.
That was fucked up. That was a low blow.
Yeah.
There was no need for that at all. But again, they're just clones to them.
Right.
They, like whatever, they can make more.
Right.
But these are individual. I mean, just by their haircuts, by their tattoos, by their, they make themselves individuals.
Yeah.
So you know who they are. And so I think that's, and I know it's like, oh, it's all sensitive and shit.
Well, that's okay.
But it is.
It's got depth. It's supposed to. That's good writing. That's good storytelling.
Yeah.
If a cartoon can make you feel emotions, fucking well done.
Well, like when the Camino and I'm gonna say a nurse. That's really all I can call her.
Yeah.
But, when she's like, "No, I'm gonna stay," They were about to blow that shit up.
And she said, stay with them.
There's no need for her to stay there. She had nothing. You know what I mean? Like there was, I don't know. It choked me up a little bit.
And, you know, and
I was like, holy shit.
You made a really good point. And again, I feel like every week you like look at things sideways from a different angle. And I'm just like, what the fuck, Sherry?
That's why there's a lady on here.
Right. But what you had said about how Dooku is like, yeah, they're just clones. There's 60,000 wounded clones.
Go attack it.
We're going to go ahead and wipe them out. But when Grievous knocked the head off that battle droid, Dooku was like, hey, take it easy on the battle droids. They're expensive. He cares more about the cost of the battle droids than he does about living, breathing clones.
Yes.
Which tells you just how far he's fallen from being
right.
a Jedi.
Right.
And how disillusioned and hateful he is towards the Republic.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous.
And it even kind of hints like I'm a big fan of the Y-Wing episode, the Shadow Malevolence.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I'm a Y-Wing junkie.
That's your ship, right? That's a Y-Wing.
That's my jam. That is my jam. I literally, I kid you not, when I was in the costume group, Break You Up, we were known as Shadow Squadron. So when I'm watching that episode and the dude's like calling out Shadow 12 standing by, I had both fists in the air and I'm screaming, yes, I'm canon. I'm not a clone, but just like I love the way that, the old classic, Red 5, Red 6,
right.
To hear the name Shadow 12, which was my call sign in the group.
Oh, that's cool.
Being used in a Star Wars episode was just fantastic, and it was I love that episode because of the Y-Wings, but more importantly, Anakin could have survived that mission. He was good enough of a pilot; he could have got in and out of there, whether he succeeded or not in destroying the ship. What I think Ahsoka brings to him was that you'll survive, but you're going to lose all your men, and we're going to fail. And you realize that over the course of the show, Ahsoka was his moral compass that when he loses her, left him vulnerable to being manipulated by Palpatine even more.
We're not there yet.
Just in the movie. Okay. Yep.
We're getting there.
Sorry.
We're getting there. We're not there yet. So one last question for you, Krash, before we go, because we got to wrap up. But before we go, I do want to, because you're a Y-Wing fan, you grew up seeing the Y-Wings that we all saw, which were the old 30-year-old busted ass Y-Wings. Yeah. So when you first saw the Y-Wings with their full plating and all their skin on, how did that make you feel?
I'm a big aviation fan. You ever go to an air show and you look at a P-51 Mustang and you go, this thing was a badass in its day. And then you realize the jet fighter came in and all of a sudden they start becoming a little obsolete. They're a little slower. They're a little clunkier. And even as a kid in Star Wars, I agree with Dave Filoni. When you looked at the Y-Wings in A New Hope, you could tell they were stripped down. You got a fat lady. I need a skinny lady to keep up with these newer, faster starships. And I was like, that was the appeal for me for the Y-Wing. It's an ugly A-10 P-51.
I was gonna say they're like the A-10s. They're
fighter.
They're so hardcore. They are definitely the unsung heroes. They're people forget they're fighters. They're bombers, but they're fighter bombers. So I mean, you can still do some shit.
Right.
And even Luke and Leia flew a Y-Wing in Splinter in the Mind's Eye, which is when he was trying to hook up and then got possessed by Obi-Wan Kenobi so he could fight Darth Vader. But we don't talk about that because that would
Lucas knew all along.
Yeah, Lucas knew all along. All right. That's a whole other show. All right. So thank you, Krash, for joining us this week. We love having you on.
Pleasure.
Thanks, everybody. We're going to do our obligatory pimping here before we head on out. So if you'd next week, homework assignment for next week. Episodes 5, 6, 7, and 8 of the Clone Wars. So the show will go a little bit quicker next week. Krash, are you going to join us next week?
Yeah, we'll see how things go. Sure. You guys want me back?
Yeah.
I'll leave a light on for you.
All right, we'll leave a light on for you too. There you go. So yeah, 5, 6, 7, and 8 of the Clone Wars season 1. Watch that. That's your homework for next week. And if you want to know what the rest of the season's going to look like and what we're going to be watching for the rest of the season, if you want to get a jump start on it, you can check out our roadmap. It's at circleofnerds.com/the SWS show. So, and speaking of the SWS show, that is also our social media handle. You can follow us on all the places, including YouTube, where we don't post anything. So go there, and we've been posting a little bit. I don't want to say that. So, and if you'd like some merch, some really cool Star Wars Sucks merch, head on over to our website, circleofnerds.com/merch, and you can get your hands on some really sweet gear that none of us have purchased. I don't even own any of our sweet gear.
We'll get some.
We'll get some this week. I'll wear it. I'll wear it next week, so all of our listeners can see
this week, but we'll get them.
The electricity bill's paid, the rent's paid. All right. All right, so that's gonna be it. So thank you all for joining us. Krash, again, thank you for taking the time to hang out with us. To all of our listeners, thank you so much. Well, our listeners here with us. So that's it. So Krash, thanks for listening to the show. I appreciate you. Now, for everybody else that listens, we do appreciate
like to hear ourselves talk.
We love it.
We know that you could listen to any other podcast about Star Wars. Oh, we loved it. Thank you. So we know you could listen to any other podcast, but you listen to us and we appreciate you. So until next week, folks, as always, remember, if no one does anything nice for you, do something nice to yourself, and we'll see y'all next week. Bye.